disposed of on the grounds that they have no obvious useful function and in some instances constitute a public hygiene hazard. The books and papers were of little value according to representatives of both the Public Library and the John Hay Library at Brown University, while the majority of the objects, figurines, effigies, fetishes and such, were fashioned from organic materials such as hide and hair, and were rather moth-eaten and sordid. I would not be surprised if Mr. Lovecraft had made them himself. They had a kind of homespun crudity about them. One particular item stood out, however, and seemed worthy of preservation. It is about this that I am contacting you. During our researches, we ascertained that you, Mr. Lovegrove, are a distant relative of the late Mr. Lovecraft. The connection is attenuated, dating back some 300 years, but real enough. Furthermore, a junior partner in our firm is an avid consumer of genre fiction and is familiar with your work. It was he who suggested you were the appropriate candidate to receive the item in question. The artifact, the nature of which you are no doubt eager for me to divulge, is a book manuscript. To be precise, 3 typed manuscripts which together tell a single tale. They are of some antiquity, perhaps a century old, and at a cursory glance purport to have been written by none other than Dr. John Watson, a literary figure with whose oeuvre you have a more than nodding acquaintance, to judge by your own recent published output. They were discovered at the back of a closet in Mr. Lovecraft's bedroom inside a rusty strongbox. Now my heart was racing again, but this time with a mixture of excitement and incredulity. To cut a long story short, we believe these manuscripts to be nothing more than forgeries, at best some kind of pastiche. They centre around Sherlock Holmes, naturally enough, given the purported author. The adventures they narrate, though, are like none to which aficionados of the character are accustomed. In point of fact, with their emphasis on strange and uncanny events, they seem utterly antithetical to the spirit of rationalism which to my admittedly limited knowledge typifies the Holmes canon. You, Mr. Lovegrove, deserve to take possession of the manuscripts by virtue of your familial association with Mr. Henry Lovecraft. You are also the best person, we feel, to adjudge their quality and authenticity by virtue of your professional experience in the fields of fantastical fiction and, if I may use the term, Holmesiana. I am therefore dispatching them to you by international courier, and they should arrive within the next 2 weeks. If by any chance you are able to make something of them, and perhaps even deem them publishable in some guise or other, we would, of course, be more than happy to represent you in whatever legal or executive capacity we are able. Yours sincerely, Mason K. Jacobs III. I spent the rest of that day visiting genealogy websites, frantically trying to establish how Henry Lovecraft and I were related. At the back of my mind lay the thought that this Lovecraft must be a descendant of the noted author Howard Phillips Lovecraft, 1890 to 1937, whose horror fiction has been so seminal and enduring. There was the coincidence, or not, of the 2 men's identical initials. Of more relevance was the location, Providence, which was the birthplace and, for most of his life, home of the more celebrated Lovecraft. I soon discovered that the 3 of us were indeed linked by bloodline. It turns out that our ancestral roots lie with Bavarian nobility, the von Luftgraf family. The word Luftgraf translates loosely from the German as High Count. The von Luftgrafs owned a large swath of Upper Franconia, up until the 1760s, when they experienced some sort of financial calamity and lost their estates and castles. As far as I could work out, one scion of the dynasty became involved with a cult of demon-raising black magic practitioners, went mad, and essentially bequeathed his fellow acolytes all his worldly wealth, thereafter living out his final days in an insane asylum, the proverbial gibbering wreck. To escape the shame and penury caused by this incident and seek a fresh start, the remaining handful of von Luftgrafs emigrated in 2 directions, some north to Great Britain, others west to the United States. Both groups shortened and anglicized their